you want to hang it off the end, or do you like it right there?
Either way is fine with me.
Turn the microphone on? Yes, I did. So I'm back at this dilemma. We're back. And it's still Sunday when I finished putting this wall up. And I'm trying to figure out ideas of how I'm going to frame this wall. And originally I'm thinking, all right, I want to frame it all the way up, angle it down, and I'm a firm believer of the KISS rule. You know, keep it keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, stupid. That way too. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to frame it the same height as this wall here. And the reason for that is because this wall and this wall are my load-bearing walls. These end walls are not really load-bearing at all. So I'll frame them to the height of this. Once I get that done, I could start installing ridge beams. And on the outside ridge beam here, I can go ahead and I can frame up to the base of that. I could put a 2x4 underneath that ridge beam on the top, and I could frame the whole thing from the top of here to the top of that ridge beam. I got the scaffolding, picked that up from Brother Will today. He had a bunch of leftover lumber, which I went over and picked up, a bunch of 12-foot 2x6s, which I could use on ramps, and 12-foot 2x4s. So I have more than enough wood to frame this wall out, and more than likely that wall. So that way all my main walls are done. And I'd like to get to that point. I priced the 2x8s that I'm going to use for my ridge beams on the roof. 2x8 by 12 foot, which are roughly around 500 bucks for the 19 that I need over the top. And then I'll need a fascia board on the front, I'll need a board on the back, and I mean, honestly, at that point I can order metal and I can get the roof on it. We're supposed to have rain this week coming up, so I'd like to get that taken care of. But I think before I do that, maybe I'll grab one of the 12-footers, the 2x4s, and run it from top to top and see what we come up with to see if a 12-footer is actually going to work. I think it will. I kind of did the whole A squared, B squared, C squared thing. So let's see if it'll work. Boy, that's not going to leave me much. That is a 12-footer. That A squared plus B squared plus C squared, it don't work. That's not legit. There we go. Sam, shut up. Nobody cares what you got to say. Double check and make sure this is in fact 12 feet. Yep, that's 12 feet. I might have to buy 14 footers. I want to hang out over the end about 3 inches over the front. Hey! Shut up, rooster. I want to do about 3 inches over the front. I don't want to go too far because in the summer that'll block sun. It'll cause shade on the front, and that's where the panels are going to be. And then I want to be at least a foot over the back. So I'll probably need to get 14 footers because I don't think they make a 13 footer. So that means a price increase. also means I'll have to borrow somebody's trailer. Let's see if I can do this without killing myself. Get that wall framed, and I could start working on this wall here. See if we can't get those two done. The nice thing is with this scaffolding, I think you can tell I'm not going to need to climb on the roof hardly at all until the very, very end, which is good. I don't like the roof. Okay, so I got these all cut and ready to go, and then I cut the two for the other end so I could do the layout, at least probably do the layout this evening with that window that I'm planning on putting in there. I've got a bunch of longer scrap over here that'll probably go good for cripples on that. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll get this one done. That on this. Get back there. bend that far anymore. There we go. Do that from down there. I'll leave this one on just because there's so much more weight on that front one than there is on this back one. Need a ladder. Okay, that window, not going to work. And I'll try and explain to you why here. Don't think I have a tape measure laying on the deck. Oh, and roofing material is here. So I went with 7-foot walls. Had I gone with an 8-foot wall, you know, because I was using my brain. Originally, when I laid this out, I had planned for this to be 12 feet. So, you know, 7 feet in the back, right, on the height, 11 feet in the front would have given me a 412. But now it's only 10 feet, so I'm closer to a 512 pitch on this roof. And like I said before, that's not a big deal. But I only have 7-foot ceiling, so I'm going to have a bench behind this window. And if I have a 3-foot tall bench, I don't have enough room to go all the way up and frame it all in one wall. I could float it above and then frame the upper wall in above that. And again, that's really a non-load bearing wall. The load bearing walls in here are the two exterior because of the way that the roof is built. But yeah, so I'm going to go on the Home Depot app. Yeah, I know I was just there, but I'm going to go on the Home Depot app, figure out which size window I want. I'll get a slider that opens so I can get some cross ventilation in there, and then I'll get the rough in dimensions for that, and then I'll go ahead and rough frame in this wall, get this done and ready to go, so that I can maybe get one of those 16-footers on the end down there and get it measured out for a bird's mouth on top and bottom, and then I'll have a pattern board and I could get the rest of those cut and maybe have them all up tomorrow. That would be nice. Okay, so since I know that the other window's not going to work, I went ahead and jumped on the Orange Store app and found a window that I want that will work in here. And when you look on the app and you find something that you like, if you scroll down into the dimensions, they'll give you the rough out dimensions. So that tells you how big the hole has to be in order for this window to fit in it. And this window's 35.5 by 35.5. It's a up and down slider. And so I'll be able to open the window and get ventilation in here, which would be better anyway. You know, if I'm sitting in here and there's a nice breeze out, I wouldn't mind getting slapped in the face with a breeze while I'm sitting at the bench. So what I did was the same thing as I was doing before. I found the center line. Oh, wait a minute, that's a stud right there, isn't it? Let me pull this real quick. It's a mark I think I forgot to put in. No. That's right. What the heck is that mark? Half of 113 would be 56.5. Oh, that's why. Knucklehead. Okay. That's what that mark is. So this mark is center. Oh, well, why is this not working? Okay. So from there, I measured 18 inches over, and I measured 18 inches over to give me my 36-inch rough opening. So there's the 36, there's the 18, there's the 36. It needs to be 36 inches wide. Next to that, I'll have a cripple and a king stud on both sides. So I've got those measured out. I measured out my 16 inches on center so that everything, so that all of my sheet goods end on the center of a stud. And when I made that measurement, I did not make that measurement off of the end of this board. I made it off the outside of that wall. And I want to show you why I did that. So here is my 16 on center, and here's 3/4 of an inch back, right? So that I end up with 3/4 of an inch on either side of my, because all my dimensional lumber is 1.5 inches wide. So I ended up with my 16 inch on center right where my pencil is going to be here. Now, if I measure it from here, now my 16 inch is right there. So you have a problem when you get to the end of sheet goods. If you end it where there's no beam, and there'll be no board here, right? There'll be no framing there. So that's why it's important to pull it from the outside of the wall, because I'm going to sheet from the outside corner all the way over. Anyway, I've got all that in. I think that I'm going to go ahead and count up studs and then make some measurements on everything I need for the window part and get those cut, and then we will get started here. The other thing I should add is that I'm going to start my window at 3 feet because 3 feet is a pretty decent height for a bench. Let me show you when I get up there. I might actually go a little higher because I can now. So this is 36 inches. That's the height that I'm looking at for a window. I don't know if you can see that where the camera's at. I'll take a look and see. But that would be a decent height for a bench because I could sit down, you know, next to the bench on one of my chairs and work right on top of it. But 3 feet's a decent height. Alright, that should be it, except for the 6 and I'll have to remeasure that again. 6 and some odd inch. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those up on top just to follow the nailing pattern. So I wanted to make sure that I stayed on 16 inches for the sheet goods. And I'll show you why I had to throw an extra stud over here. I wanted the window in the middle. So I could have avoided this extra stud by sliding this over to that stud or sliding it back to this other stud. And I would have ended up on center when I was done. But because I want the window right in the middle, I needed to cut this extra one. I'll show you with the cell phone. Okay, there we go. The whole thing all framed out, like I said, except for the 4 pieces up there. I'll have to measure that off and make sure I have the right cut on that. But when you're pulling 16 inches on center, if you want to see where you're at, basically, right, I pull here to here, and I'm at 16. And I'm at 16 when I move this over where it's supposed to be. And then over here, I'm at 16, right? Well, the problem was that when I ended up at 16 here, I didn't have enough to nail the next sheet onto. So that's why I added that extra stud. And then, uh-oh, knocking everything down. There's my 16 on that one and my 16 on that one. And then, of course, one on the end. So we'll need something to nail off to. We'll be nailing off to that when we're done. It's like building a puzzle. I like puzzles. But, you know, when you're doing this all the time, it makes a big difference. I'm also going to throw a long 2x4 down here on the end because it's pretty tight. I mean, I've got these on the edge so tight because I want these to be just absolutely perfect when they get where they got to be. So yeah, I'll have to make an adjustment there, but I can nail off the bottom first. Holy smokes, that went a lot easier than I expected it to. This is going to be nice. I'm missing all this morning sun. Shut up, Sam. That's enough, dude. Everybody knows you're awake. Missing all this morning sun this morning, and I've kind of shaded off my solar panels, so they'll be kicking out some serious power here in a bit as the sun kind of comes around the cabin, but it's quite a bit lower on the horizon now than it was just a few weeks ago. I had a couple of comments. One of the comments was, you're going to put the panels on the roof, right? Now I'm going to put the panels on the front of the building. That's why kind of it's so high, so that I can catch that sun in the morning every morning. So those panels will be on their side, sitting there sideways. And then those panels, I haven't really decided if I'm going to put maybe 3 panels across. I could probably go 4 to catch even more sun. But I have 2 more panels. And then this area back behind me that was all cleared out when the neighbor, before the property line got established properly, it's got some open areas that would probably be great to set up a little solar array over there too, because all the trees have been felled. But yeah, I got to get this cleaned up, man. I got to get this done before winter hits again so that I can get all of this firewood in the woodshed, and I can get this whole yard cleaned up, because I do not like a messy yard. I really don't. Anyway, I'm going to finish my coffee, and then we'll get started for the morning. I'm probably going to clean off the lens on this camera. We have a series of 3 sets of storms that are coming in, and they're supposed to hit tomorrow. So I don't know how much more I'm going to get done on this week. I'd like to get the rafters in place and get the roof metal ordered and get the purlins installed. That would be nice. I don't think I'll get all that done today, but if I have any kind of break in the weather, I can get that done. And once I have the rafters in place, I can take the measurements for the purlins, know exactly what I need. And then I can also take a measure for the metal, know exactly what I'm going to need there. And then if it's raining, I could still do some of the sheet work on the outside. So I don't want to climb around. I've got the scaffolding set up. Let me show you what I got going on with the scaffolding real quick. I can do that from here. I've got the scaffolding set up on the inside against the tall wall. And then I'll move one of those planks over to this one. I set this one up yesterday. I can do almost all of the roof work standing on the scaffolding, which will make things a whole lot nicer, a whole lot easier. I'm going to leave these in place while I do the rafters, because then I can stand up on the tall side, and then I'll have a small ladder on the other side to set those. I picked up some truss screws because that's what I'm going to use to install those. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I think we all know how Sean feels about climbing on a roof, and I'm only going to have to do it probably maybe the last 2 pieces over here. I'll have to be on a ladder or on the roof. But a 5/12 pitch is much better than the 9/12 pitch that I have on the cabin.